The one, the only, Ben Sion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're doing the penultimate daf, the second to last daf in Maseches Nazir, and hopefully this afternoon I'll be giving a share on the last daf Maseches Nazir.
Ian is the best.
Shmuel couldn't believe when I give an Ian share on every daf in Maseches Nazir. Shmuel could not believe that. Is it possible? Is it humanly possible? But it's on YouTube. You know, the proof is in YouTube. Just check out YouTube, Ian Ben Sion. When Ian share, hopefully I'll continue with Masechah Sota. Everything I do is historic. History is being rewritten as we speak.
That's right.
I follow every word, every action that I do.
That's right.
The thoughts are only in my mind, but the actions and the words are, what do they say? Hanistarot lanu vanenu ad. What is it?
For eternity.
Hanistarot Hashem Elokeinu vaniglos lanu vanenu ad olam. Vaniglos. My words and my actions are niglos.
That's right.
My thoughts are nistar. Even Shmuel doesn't know what I'm thinking. What am I thinking about Shmuel?
What?
What am I thinking now?
What are you thinking about?
What am I thinking now?
You're probably saying, how can I get Shmuel out of
Nah, that's not true. That's not true. I love having Shmuel. All right, let's get started. The Mishnah, the bottom of Salaf Dalam Beis. Hamotze meis betchila mushkav kedarko notlov est fusaso. Right, you're not going to a cemetery. You happen to be passing by some earth. You notice that the earth is a little uneven. You dig up a person, right, and he's lying the way a person normally lies. So, and you want to rebury him. You're allowed to rebury someone in this case because it's not considered a permanent grave over there. They probably just buried him as a meis mitzvah. You can take him est fusasa. We're going to have to take the earth underneath him and rebury him with earth. Shnayim, you find two people buried next to each other. No thon est fusasa. And again, the same thing. You can take both of them, exhume them, and bury them along with the earth. Matzah shlosha. You found three people lying next to each other. If this is between the two mason, the three mason, between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, is between 4 and 8 amos, which is generally the amount of space between coffins. You could assume it's a cemetery. And therefore, since you could assume it's a cemetery, you have to be choshesh, you have to worry that there's other people buried here. So what do? You want to find out if it's a legitimate cemetery and you can't exhume people and bury them somewhere else or not. Bodek Kimano, the top of Sam Lechem and Aleph, Bodek Kimano Lahal and Esrim Amma. You check from the two outer people, 20 amos. Maza Echad Besof Esrim Amma. You find someone within 20 amos. Bodek Kimano Lahal and Esrim Amma. Again, from that person, you check 20 amos. Once you see Shkunas Akvaros, once you see three people buried next to each other, there's legitimate concern, there's chazak, an assumption that's probably that this is a cemetery. And once it's a cemetery, that's considered their permanent resting place, and you're not supposed to reinter them. So, in order to dispel this chazaka, you have to go check within 20 amos. If you don't find within 20 amos, so then you could probably take it out and rebury it, right? Because if you just found one, then for sure you could take it and the earth. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda, matzah. The Gemara is analyzing the lashon, the words in the Mishnah. Amar Rav Yehuda, matzah. He found prat lematzoi. This only applies that you can take the body if you happen to have found it, right, by chance. But if it's something which is known, everyone knows that he's buried there, you can't just take him out. Mace, a dead person, prat laharug. If someone was murdered, right, you have to have died of natural causes. If he was murdered, you don't take him out. Mushkav, if he's lying down normally, prat liyoshev kedarko. If you find him in the ground sitting in a sitting position, also you wouldn't be able to take him out. Prat kedarko, prat liyoshev. Sorry, kedarko, prat lisharosha munach be'yarchosav. If he's in an interesting position where his head is between his thighs. Tani ula bar chanina. Ula bar chanina explains the reasoning for these lashonas in the Mishnah. Meis shechaser ein lo tfusa. Sorry. Tani ula bar chanina adds another halacha. Meis shechaser. If you find a corpse but he's missing part of his body, ein lo tfusa. V'lo shkunas hakvaros. You can rebury him, but you don't need to take the ground with him. And there's no, even if you find three people with parts of their bodies missing, it's not considered a cemetery. What's the reason for all these halachas? Lo amrinan, like my time Allah. Why do we not consider it to be a legitimate grave? Amrina Dilma Ovi Kol Chabamu. You find in these interesting positions, right? He's sitting up, or you find that he's missing part of his body. We assume he's a non-Jew. He was murdered. He's a non-Jew, and the fact that he might be a non-Jew, right? The whole idea, it's a suffix whether this is his burial, he was actually buried there or not. This is a cemetery or not, and therefore, if there's a reis, if there's something dispelling the notion that he actually further dispelling the notion that he was buried there, so then you can treat him as a non-Jew, and you don't have to be noheg. You don't have to leave him there, and you can move him to someplace else. You don't have to be knowing the kedusha that you give to a Jewish dead person. Matzah shnayim rosho shel zeh b'sad margaloshav shel zeh v'rosho shel zeh b'sad margaloshav shel zeh ein lehen tvusa v'lo shchunas akbaros. You find two dead people, right? One person's head is next to the adjacent person's feet, and vice versa. Again, these people, you don't even have to take the tfusa, right? You don't take tfusa. And similarly, if there's three of these people, there's no din of shchunas akbaros. Matzah shlosha. So you found three people next to each other, which would normally be shchunas akbaros. Echad yadua. One person is known. You knew that the person was buried. There were shnayim tchila. Two people are a new discovery. Or shnayim tchila. Or two people are a new discovery. Or shnayim yaduim. Shnayim yaduim. I think the article changes it. Or shnayim tchila. Or two people tchila. Or shnayim yaduim. You have four people and two people are known. Again, in this case, you don't have to treat it as a cemetery. And there's also no din of tusa over here. You don't have to take the dirt with them. Because, right, if you find one person, we have to assume it's a Jewish person, so you can rebury him, but you have to take the dirt with him. If you find a weird situation where people are known to be buried there, right? That's what we said. If he's known to be buried, right, and he wasn't buried in a cemetery, it's probably a non-Jewish person. So therefore, if you have two people, even if two people were not known about, and you have two people that were buried next to him that were known about, so we assume it's probably the other people are non-Jewish also. So there's no din of shchunas akbaros. And also, you don't take you can rebury them, but you don't have to take the dirt with him. It was an incident of Yishaviv. Two people were known, and one person was a new discovery. He wanted to make a shchunas akbaros. They machmir to keep him there like a cemetery. Whatever thoughts you had are for naught, right? Whatever chiddush you have is for naught. You're doing all the shlosha tchila. The only talk about shchunas akbaros, it has to be three people that were known. If it's three people that were known, so we can assume maybe they were Jewish people. They just didn't have a place to bury them in the cemetery. Or three people unknown, so then again we assume it's Jewish people and you have to keep them there. Note best tfusasa. If it's less than three people, you can take them and their ground. Heichi dami tfusa. What's considered the ground? Well, how much ground do you have to take with them? Well, first the Gemara asks, where's the source? What's the source that you have to take the ground with them? Yaakov said to his sons, Yosef said, that you should take me when I die. I'm sorry, Yaakov said when he says, you should take me when I die, he was assuming even if he was buried in Egypt, you should take me Mitzrayim. The Gemara is not only him, but also part of Mitzrayim, part of the ground of Egypt, if he were buried there. He wasn't actually buried there, but if he were to be buried there, should take part of the ground with him. Tol imi, take with me. V'kama shir tfusa, how much ground underneath you have to take. Pirish Rebbe Lazar, notel afar tichoach, he takes the soft ground, any soft ground directly underneath the dead person you have to take. V'chofer b'sula gimel etzbos. Additionally, when you get into the harder ground, you have to go 3 fingers full deep and take that land also. Meisive, the Gemara asked a question from Rabbi, said, "Kama shir tfusa, how much is the ground?" Pirish Rebbe Lazar Rebbe Tzadok, no dalasaki samin. Let's talk about a person who's buried in the ground, like here in Eretz Yisrael. You take any branches, any splinters of wood, ves hakasasos, any clumps of earth, v'zorik es havadayin, umaniach es haspekos. You can throw out things which are for sure not part of the maze, and anything which is a suffix, you're not sure if it's part of the actual dead person, just decomposed. Whatever is a suffix, you're not sure it's part of the mace, so that it could actually join together, like we said, for Nazir is Magaleach. If you have Rov Binyano, right, let's say part of the mace, which is most of the height of the dead person, or a Rova Kav of Atzamos, or Lamarle Tarva, which makes someone Tame, Lamarle Tarva, they've completely decomposed, a handful full of rotted decomposition of the mace. Huda Amar, so it doesn't say anything about the Karka Basula. It says something about clumps of earth. It doesn't say anything about digging in the hard land underneath. Huda Amar, so Lezer said that Kiaitana, a different Tana, the sign of Kamashir Tfusa Amar Biyochim Shumen Nazai, Notel Afar Tichok of Chor Basula Shalosh Espo. It's exactly like he said, you take the soft earth and you also dig deep into the hard earth, 3 etzbos. Bodek Heimanu, the Gemara says, the top of Samachayim would be. Hard time turning the pages over here. I'm a Rava. Rava says, Badak Opano, Badak Vashkach, Lo Haimifani le Gabihanach, Trey, Velohani Trey le Gabihai. Le Gabihai Chad. Let's say, right, normally the halacha is supposed to check. If you find one person, check to see if there's another person. If you find 3 people, well, that's Shkunas HaKoros. Let's say you didn't listen to the advice of Chazal. You found one person newly discovered, and then you took him and you moved him somewhere else. And you checked again right next to him within 4 to 8 amos. You found another person. You took him out, and then you found a third person. So when you're reburying them, so you found 2 people. The third person that you're going to reinter, you shouldn't bury next to the first 2 people, and the first 2 people you shouldn't bury next to the last person. The last person technically is part of the Shkunas Akvaros. Really, he has to stay in his place. The first 2 already were taken out, so they can be moved. Some say, once you already took 2 people out, so we don't look as a third person in Shkunas Akvaros, you have to leave him there. There's no one there anymore, so you consider like the first person, you can take all of them and reinter them wherever you want. The Gemara says, why not? At the end of the day, we have knowledge that it was a Shkunas Akvaros. Amar Shlakish, Ila Matsu V'Tira Yisrael. Technically, this is a loophole that they wanted Eretz Yisrael. A lot of times they found Kvaros. They wanted Eretz Yisrael to be Torah. A lot of Tuma and Tara are very applicable in Eretz Yisrael, where the base of Mikdash. So they found the pretext, and they said this is a way of Eretz Yisrael to avoid Shkunas Akvaros. We'll just find one, take it away right away. You're not supposed to do l'chachila, but in the Shasad Chak, find a loophole. Technically, once you took one away, and there's only 2 left, so it's not a Shkunas HaKvaros, and you can remove all of them. Badak me'esrim ama v'lo matzah. Let's say you found 3, and then you checked 20 amos, and you didn't find. What's Allah? Amar Menashe bar Yirmiyah Amar Rav Shkunas HaKvaros. It's considered Shkunas HaKvaros. My time. Amar Reish Lakish ila matzu v'tiras Yisrael. Now this line is a little difficult because Reish Lakish is saying some sort of kula over here, but the Gemara is saying Shkunas Akvaros. Once it's Shkunas Akvaros, so we assume it's 3 people. Now we assume it's 3 people, and it's a cemetery. It's a cemetery. You can't move them. So what's the Gemara saying over here? So therefore, the Rush takes out this last line. But I believe you can answer the follow. You could offer the following explanation that even though the Mishnah says Shkunas Akvaros, right, you're supposed to keep it there technically. The Mishnah says you go and you check within 20 amos. If there's 20 amos, you find a dead person. Then you check another 20 amos. The Gemara is asking, what happens if you didn't find anyone in 20 amos? So Rav says Shkunas HaKvaros, Shkunas HaKvaros, but not like the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Shkunas HaKvaros, you have to keep it there. Here we're saying Shkunas HaKvaros, and that's what the Mishnah implies. If you don't find someone at the end of 20 amos, so the Shkunas HaKvaros, and this would be a type of Shkunas HaKvaros where you could remove them. We would not consider it like a cemetery. If you found other people after checking within 20 amos, that would be a real cemetery. You can't move it. But here the Gemara is saying, if you didn't find, which is implied by the Mishnah, you didn't find anyone else, then you can remove all of them. The Mishnah says, Kol Safek Negoyim. The Mishnah is going to discuss other things which are not directly related to dead people, but they're related to Tuma and Tara. Kol Safek Negoyim B'tchila Torah Ashla Nizkak L'Tuma. If you have a Safek, whether someone is Tameh from Negoyim, he has Saras. If the person never had Saras before, we go L'Kula if there's a Safek. Mishin niskak latuma sveikotam. Once the person is niskak latuma, we'll have to find exactly what this means in the Gemara. Niskak latuma doesn't mean he was for sure tummy. He's vaday tummy. The Gemara assumes it means he's vaday tummy. Niskak latuma. Once he's tummy, and then you have a suffix whether the tuma dissipated or not. There's no more tuma anymore. Sveikotam. So the suffix is tummy. We assume based on the chazaka, right? Chazaka tells me he has a cheskes tara until he gets nagaim. Once he's confirmed to be a mitzora, so then chazaka, he's tameh until we can prove that he's tar. That's seemingly the explanation of the Mishnah. The Gemara says, "Menani mili." Where do we know this halacha from? Amar Yehuda, Amar Rav, Amar Kra, Lataro, Latamo. The pasuk by Tzara says first Lataro to Matara and Latamo. Whole pasuk v'akasu Matara tchila. Right? It says the first, right? Our first dealing with a mitzora, we want to know if he's tameh or not. We pronounce him tar. And then it's olatamo. If he was a mitzora, so then you pronounce him tameh. If you have a suffix, if he's still a mitzora. So the Gemara says, "Hachi afilu mishiniskak l'tuma namis fake otar." Now, this line in the Gemara is a little difficult because the seeming explanation of the Mishnah is that you go based on chazaka. If we're not sure if he has nagayim, was a mitzora, so cheskes tara. If he is tameh. So what's the Gemara asking? Tuma, meaning we confirmed that he's a Masora, right? Mukhlat, that he for sure has saras. So why should it be Sveiko Tar? Should be Sveiko Tame. He already had it. Chazaka should be Tame. We'll answer this question in Iyad Ben Sion. The Gemara really doesn't do a good job of explaining this line of reasoning. Where is the statement of Rav Yehuda Rav relevant? Not to our Mishnah. Where is it relevant? To a different Mishnah. Aha itmar. In Baharis kadmol asar lavan. This is a Mishnah in Nagaim also says that in determining one of the forms of haras is you see a white lesion on your skin with hairs, right? With two white hairs. So if the Baharis, the white spot, came before the white hairs, Tameh, the person is pronounced Tameh, right? Vim sar lavan kadmol Baharis tar. If the white hairs came before the lesion, then you're tar. Safi, what about you're not sure which one came first? Tameh. According to the Tanakama, the Gemara says in Bava Metzia, Rabbi Lezer, you're tameh. Rabbi Shua Amar Kia. Rabbi Shua says it's weakened. My Kia. What does Kia mean? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Kia v'tar. It's a weakened proof, and he's tar. In a Safek, which one came first? He's tar. V'dilma Kia v'tameh. So why? Maybe the explanation of Rabbi Shua is weakened. He's tameh. We should assume he's tameh. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Amar Kra. Where does Rabbi Shua base it? In Lataro Latamo. The pasuk is Lataro Latamo. Whole pasuk about Kasav B'tara. The first, the Torah says, right, when you're first dealing with Mitzorah to determine whether he has Saras or not, which did the Baharis come before the Sar Lavan, so we're not sure. So therefore, Lataro Latamo answers that suffix and tells us that you assume that he's Tahor and that he's not Tameh. Now, what does Rabbi Elazar argue, or does the Tanakam argue? Why does he say suffix Tameh over here? So we'll have to explain the Shita of Rabbi Elazar and Iyad Ben Sion, and also explain our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, what is our Mishnah saying, right? The Gemara says, based on our Mishnah, Mishnizka Tuma, you should also go Lataro Latamu, you should pronounce him Tor. What does our Mishnah mean? What does the line of the Gemara mean? And we'll try to answer these questions. Iyad Ben Sion coming up next.